Good morning, Impact. Thank you for joining us today. Will you please stand and worship with us? Where was the darkness when hope was restored? And where was despair when my think that everyone in this room has probably experienced at one time or another, or if not personally, maybe seen happen in the life of someone else, something miraculous, whether that be big or small. We've all witnessed an event where there's no other explanation, but it was God's hand. And that's what this next song is about that we're going to sing, is that God has been doing miracles then, he's doing them now, and we are going to see more and more with each day that passes. We just have to keep our eyes out. Even if they're little, they are all around us, and they're happening in your life. Let's sing together.
Fan the flame and
open door, after open door, here it comes. So get ready for another one, 'cause another one is on the way. Oh, another one is on the way. Oh, rushing wind and living water, you're the God of signs, the God of wonders. If you will it, what can stop it? 'Cause you're working it all for good. Yeah, you're working it all for good. Miracle after miracle, open door after open door, here it comes. So get ready for another one, 'cause another one is on the way. Miracle after miracle, open door after open door, here it comes. So get ready for another one, 'cause another one is on the way. Another one, another one. Oh, another one is on the way. Another one, another one. Oh, another one is on the way. It's on the way. 'Cause if he told the sun when to rise, and it did, he will again. And if he told the storm to be still, and it did, he will again. And if he told the sea where to split, and it did, he will again. And if he told the walls when to fall, and they did, he will again. And if he told the chains when to break, and they did, he will again. And if he told the bones come alive, and they did, he will again. And if he told the stone roll away, and it did, he will again. And if he told the grave let him go, and it did, he will again. And again, and again, and again, and again. I know you will again, and again, and again. Oh, another one is on the way. Miracle after miracle, open door after open door, here it comes. So get ready for another one, 'cause another one is on the way. Miracle after miracle, open door after open door, here it comes. So get ready for another one. Oh, and if you told the chains when to break, and they did, you will again. And if you told the bones come alive, and they did, you will again. And if you told the stone roll away, and it did, you will again. And if you told the rain let it go, and it did, you will again. And again, and again, and again, and again, and again. I know you will again, and again, and again. Oh, another one is on the way. Miracle after miracle, open door after open door, here it comes. So get ready for another one, 'cause another one is on the way. Miracle after miracle, open door after open door, here it comes. So get ready for another one, 'cause another one is on the way. Let's pray. Dear God, we are so thankful for the direction that you gave us then that you're giving us now and the direction that you will continue to provide for us in the future. We are so thankful for your word. We are so thankful that those words that were written thousands of years ago, we can still apply today, no matter the situation. The things that happened then, they're happening now. The miracles that you performed then, you're performing now. And we will keep our eyes and our ears and our hearts open to keep seeing those things that you are showing us every day. Thank you for walking alongside us in all that we experience, God. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. You may be seated.
So good morning, everybody. Welcome to Impact Church. We're so glad that you are here today. We're happy that it's starting to warm up a little bit. Isn't it starting to warm up, right? Anyone else know? So I think this week's supposed to be nice, right? Anyone else know? My kids keep telling me what the weather's going to be, but they're always wrong when they tell me. My oldest daughter, likes to wear shorts as much as possible, and we made a rule that it has to be over 60 degrees to wear shorts. She was wearing shorts to school like at 40 degrees, and so now she always lets, you guys don't care about anything I'm talking about right now, so I'm going to stop. So anyways, my name is Eric. I'm the lead pastor. We're so glad that you are here today. If this is your first time here, we want to welcome you and thank you for being here. For every first-time visitor, we give a $2 donation to a local charity or organization. And this entire quarter, we are starting a brand new quarter today. We are going to be sponsoring the Boys and Girls Club of Westminster. If you do not know the Boys and Girls Club, is an after-school program that does after-school activities, different programs, and we contacted them to see if we could sponsor them this entire quarter, and they said that what they need help with is they will be making, as a group project in school, a bunch of blankets for people in local shelters. So they need help with getting the materials for all the blankets that they will be making. So we said we can definitely help with that. We'll give you more ways, for those of you that have been coming consistently, more ways you can help with that. But for every first-time visitor, $2 goes to this organization, Boys and Girls Club of Westminster. So make sure you fill this out. This is your first time here. If it's your second time here, we also encourage you to fill this out because you get an Impact Church t-shirt, as well as if you are interested in impact groups or ownership or impact teams or any prayer requests, you can fill this out as well. And what you can do, you can take this to the greeters in the back after service is over, or there's that little gray bin in the back. You can put that in there as well. If you've been here last month, we had like 20 announcements every single Sunday. This month, we don't have any announcements. Okay, we're clearing some things up. We have the men's retreat that's coming up, but if you have not signed up for that, let me know if you still want to go. Today's kind of the deadline, but we're actually kind of over capacity currently. The house fits 28 people, and we have 30 people that are going. So if you want to come, you can. You just got to sleep on the floor. But that's all. We don't have any space. Or we can really share some beds. But anyway, so if there's some other things that are happening, but one thing we want to do this entire month, we want to highlight some of the teams that we have here at the church. We have so many different ways that you can serve at the church if you're looking for ways to do that. There's so many different options. Every Sunday, people get here around 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and everything you see, we set up. We have to tear everything down. Everything upstairs we have to set up, and we have a bunch of teams that do that. So each Sunday, we're going to highlight a different team. If you're looking for a place that you can serve, we'll be highlighting a different team. And today, we're going to actually be highlighting the host team with Lauren, who's right over here. So Lauren, come on up. Let's give everyone a round of applause for Lauren. And she will give you some information on the host team and things like that. So go ahead, Lauren.
Okay, so like Eric said, I'm Lauren. I am on staff here. And unlike most of our staff, I was actually not on our launch team. I came to Impact their second Sunday that they were a church, and I never left. While the preaching was good and the worship was good, that's not what made me come back again. What made me come back was Rusty Valenstein really trying to get to know me and my family. And on the second week that I came, it was Summer, who greeted me by name. So I'm really passionate about making people feel welcome and getting to know people that are new. So if that is something that you enjoy also, I would love for you to come and talk to me about being on the host team. And yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, so those that are friendly, I've actually heard Rusty Valenstein happens to be my dad. I've heard many people tell me, like, yeah, I did not come back because you're preaching. I came back because your dad was very nice to me. It's like, well, wish I grew up with that. No, I'm just kidding. It was nice to me as a kid, too. But anyway, so with that, we're going to continue our worship through our giving. There are 3 ways you can give. If this is your home church, there's 3 ways you can give. You can give in person in the bin in the back. You can give online. You can text GIVE to 833-366-9543. Let me pray over our tithes and offerings really quick. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity we have to serve you, to learn more about you. And just, dear God, I pray that you help us today just to hear what you want us to hear today. Be with everything that comes into this church to be used for your kingdom and your glory. In your son's name, amen. Thank you, Jake. So today we are starting a brand new series. If this is your first time here, it's a great week for you to be here because we are starting a brand new series today all about doubt. All about doubt. We just came from Easter last week, and we're talking about doubt now for the next month. More people than ever are open to tapping more deeply into their spiritual lives. Statistically, that is true, that more people are interested in spirituality. Now, a lot of people think that's not true. They look at the world, they look at culture, they might think like they don't agree with some of the things that are happening, so they think less people are spiritual. But that's actually what you're thinking is less people are religiously affiliated today than ever. That is going down. But more people today are actually spiritually curious or open to spirituality. The statistics I looked up, according to the Pew Research, said that 7 out of 10 people in the U.S. describe themselves as spiritual, as in believing that there's something bigger than them, whether it's a deity, some kind of spiritual life. 83% of all U.S. adults believe that people have a soul. 81% say that there is something spiritual beyond this world. 77% believe in a higher power. 74% say that they want to grow spiritually. And 44% say that they are more open to God today than they were before the pandemic. 44%, so almost half. So even though traditional religious beliefs are on the decline in America, and those practices are on the decline, spirituality is not. Spirituality is actually on the rise. And because spirituality is on the rise, tough questions are also on the rise. The increased curiosity always brings questions and doubts. It can easily translate into that. And statistically, that is also true for people that would consider themselves Christians. According to research done by the Barna Group in March of 2023, here's what they find when it comes to people in America. It says 52% of adults and teens have experienced religious doubts. That is, out of those 52%, 12% are frequently, 16% are occasionally, and 24% are sometimes. And then here's another interesting stat. 50% of Christians, or those who have a Christian experience, have reported that they have gone through a prolonged period of doubt at some point, whether they're currently going through it or they have in the past. At some point they can say, I had a long period where I wasn't sure what I believed. So here's what that tells us. If you're here in the room today and you are going through doubt, you're not sure if you believe this stuff, you're not sure what we're doing here, I want you to know you're not alone. Statistically, half of you in the room either have gone through it or are currently going through it. You are not alone when it comes to your doubts. And I would say for me, just because I'm the pastor of this church, that doesn't mean that I don't have doubts. What I would say is you can't do what I do and not at times struggle with doubts and uncertainty and not sure what you believe. Some of you right now, you may feel like a burnt-out candle, that you used to have this strong, vibrant faith at one point, but now it's barely there, or maybe it's not there at all. And you feel like someone blew it out, and now you don't really know how to get that faith back. You really believed strongly at one point, and now you're just struggling with so many struggles and doubts, and you're just not sure, and here you are feeling like that. And here's what we're going to learn throughout this entire series, that faith is always accompanied by doubt. It's always accompanied by it. Faith is trusting what you cannot see and what you cannot fully prove. If you were 100% certain, then you wouldn't have to have faith. It wouldn't be faith if you were 100% certain. But because we cannot be 100% certain, there will always be some level of doubt. That always comes when it comes to faith. The opposite of faith is not doubt. The opposite of faith is certainty. And we're not called to have certainty. Jesus doesn't say you need to have certainty. He says you need to have faith. In the book of Mark, there's a man who brings his demon-possessed demon-possessed son to Jesus. And the man, when he brings his son to Jesus, the man says to Jesus, hey, if you can do anything about it, please help. And Jesus responds, If I can, everything is possible for those that believe. And here's the man's reply, and this is one of my favorite verses in the Bible, and this is a verse that I think we're going to be using this entire series. Here's the man's reply to Jesus. It says, if anyone that believes, if you believe, it can happen. And here's his reply, Mark chapter 9, verse 24. Immediately the boy's father exclaimed, I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief. For those of you in the room that are currently struggling with doubt, for this next series, this entire month, I want you to have this verse be your prayer. God, I do believe. Help my unbelief. For those of you that maybe aren't currently struggling with doubt, but you know it could come. You know at some point in life and something could happen, you start to have doubt. I want you to remember this verse. God, I do believe, but help my unbelief. So if you feel like a candle that's blown out, know that it isn't fully out. In fact, this last couple weeks, I learned this scientific thing that Rob taught me about a candle. It's the scientific term for it, which doesn't seem very scientific, is vapor relight. That's what it means. When a candle is burned out, if you take another candle and if it's hot enough, all you need to do is get it close enough to that first candle and it will relight. You don't have to touch it, just getting it close. I was going to try to show you this experiment, but I thought if I did it and it didn't work, that would be a very bad thing to show. So some of you would be like, that candle is not getting relit. What does that mean? So, but just the little bit of heat can relight it. Some of you, if you feel like your candle is out, maybe you just need a little more encouragement. Maybe you need a little bit of time. Maybe you need an experience with the source of light, that what you thought was dead will come right back to life. Throughout this series, we're going to look at 4 major questions that lead people to doubt. Week 2, so next week, we're going to look at the question, is the Bible true? Is the Bible true? Week 3, we're going to look at the question, is Jesus really the only way? Like, is it Jesus or nothing? The last week, we're going to look at the number 1 question that people ask and what leads people to doubt, and that is, why is there tragedy? If there's a God out there, why is there tragedy? But today, we're going to start with the starting question that we all really need to start with. Because if we don't have this understanding, we don't understand this answer, then it doesn't matter what else we talk about. And the question we're going to answer today is this. Is there really a God? Is there really a God? If you answer this correctly, the other questions don't really matter. How do we know that there is a God? How do we really know there is a God? So today, I'm going to tell you 3 ways that I have learned and why I believe there is a God. This isn't the only 3 ways by any means, but this is the way that it's helped me to learn. And I'm hoping that if you're here and you struggle with this question and you have doubts, and maybe this will help you as well. So number 1, here's the first reason why I believe there's a God that you should also believe in. Number 1, the creation of God. Creation of God. When I look at creation, when I look at the intricacies of this earth, when I look at atoms and DNA, I can't look at any of that stuff and just be like, yeah, that has to be self-generated. I just have trouble doing that. That all of that came from absolutely nothing. When the universe works in a way that feels like it's designed, it's hard for me to conclude anything else but that it is designed. And Scripture talks about this a lot. Psalms 19:1 says, the heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands. Psalms 8:1 says, Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory in the heavens. Psalm 139:13-14 says, for you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Here's what it's kind of like. I have a picture here of some birthday cakes. These birthday cakes, that is my Brooklyn when she turned 3. She is now 10. Yikes, that was a long time ago. 3. And Savannah, I'm not sure what birthday that was. We have both these cakes. These were their birthday cakes. My mother-in-law made both these birthday cakes. It's awesome because what my mother-in-law will do is she will ask the kids, hey, what do you want the birthday cake to be? And they will say, Barbie or unicorn. Or my son was like, I want Batman versus Darth Vader and a cake. She's like, all right, I'll figure out a way to do it. And she makes the cakes. And if you have kids, you know how expensive cakes can be. She could sell these cakes for a good penny, right? Every time we have birthday parties, she makes a cake. She's so good at it. When this cake is at the party, no one comes to me and says, hey, how did this cake just appear here? What they always ask is, where'd you get that cake from? Or who made that cake? Never assumed that there was nothing else and a cake magically appeared. No, it's pretty obvious that someone made that cake. On top of that, if you ask my mother-in-law how she made the cake, she could tell you. Here's the recipe I used. Here's how long it took. Here's the process of all of it. This is how I make the cake. She can tell you the science behind how these cakes were made. Learning the science doesn't change whether you believe she made the cakes. It actually tells you, oh, she definitely made the cakes because she's explained to me how she made the cakes. And no one ever questions why she made this cake. Everyone knows why she made the cakes. It's Brooklyn's birthday or Savannah's birthday, one of my kids' birthdays. She loves her grandkids, so she makes them a cake. The more you look at creation, the more it tells me someone had to make it. It didn't just appear out of nothing. The more you learn science, the more you learn how it was created. It doesn't make me believe less in a God, it makes me believe more in a God. And the more I think about why this all is here, the more I understand that not only is there a God that created everything, but there's a God who loves me. And I can know that because he created everything, including me. And here's some of the biggest arguments when it comes to creation. There's 5 major arguments, and some of these may help you. You may know some of these. Here's some of the arguments when it comes to how we know there's a God based on creation. First one is the highest ideal argument. The highest ideal argument. The highest ideal argument seeks to prove the existence of God by reasoning that human beings, regardless of their culture or regardless of the period in history, human beings continually conceive of a perfect being that is greater than they are. So great that no greater being can be conceived of. That perfect being is God. The argument says that since human minds can only conceive what actually exists, God must exist because through all of history, people have conceived of God. That we are able to perceive of a higher being because there is a God and there is a higher being. Now, I would say out of all the arguments, I think this one is the weakest one out of all the arguments we're going to talk about. But when you add the other arguments to this one, I think that helps this argument. This is the first one. This is the simplest one, the highest ideal argument. Number 2, this is the second argument, design argument. This is the cake analogy I just gave you. When you perceive the harmony of creation and how it's been ordered to function, you have to assume that an intelligent designer created it to function that way. If you see something that looks designed, it has to be a designer. And if that design is very complicated, it has to be an intelligent designer. Biochemistry professor Michael Behe argues that there is an irreducible complexity in nature. That's what he would call it. That certain biological systems, the example he gives is an eye, certain biological systems are too complex to be evolved from simpler predecessors. That it came into existence as a complete system. Think of an eyeball. It came into existence as a complete system. Therefore, we are logically compelled to believe that these things had to be intelligently designed by God. Think of just our world. And I'm not a scientist. I'm not very smart, so I'm not going to give you all these details. But here's what I know. If you look at the gravitational force, if you look at the rate of the universe expansion, the average distance between stars, the nature of gravity, Earth's distance from the sun, Earth's rotational period, and even our carbon dioxide levels that are so finely tuned that for life on our planet, that no logical explanation other than God is tenable. Here's a quote I found from scientist Francis Collins. Here's how he says it. He says this: when you look from the perspective of a scientist at the universe, it looks as if it knew we humans were coming. There are 15 constants. Gravitational constant, various constants about strong and weak nuclear forces, etc., that have precise values. If any one of these constants was off by even 1 part in a million, or in some cases by 1 part in a million, the universe could not have actually come to the point where we see it. Matter would not have been able to coalesce, and there would have been no galaxy, stars, planets, or people. That's the design argument. Then there's the first cause argument. First cause argument. For every effect, there is a cause. Science shows that the universe had a beginning. Science shows that. If there is a beginning to the material world, then the cause of the beginning must be outside of the material world in order to cause it to come into existence. Either you believe that there is a God beyond space and time that created everything we see, or everything we know was created by nothing. And if that can happen, how come we've never seen it happen again? Everything came to existence created by nothing. The Big Bang Theory says that everything was created by what they call the singularity. One thing that created all things. I'm okay with just calling that singularity God. One thing that created all things. Here's what it'd be like. If there is no divine creator, it would be the probability of life being on this earth and all of us being able to survive and this earth to be able to exist. Probability of life being on earth would be like a hurricane roaring through a junkyard and building a plane. It's the same likelihood if we're all here. Then there's a time argument. It's similar to the first cause argument. The existence of time necessitates a beginning as a reference point to which time proceeds. The reference point has to be outside of time in order for it to begin. Just like God is outside the material earth, God is also outside of time because he created time. And the universe is not eternal. If it was eternal, then we maybe can argue this. But all science says it's not eternal. Big Bang Theory says that there was a beginning, that it was started at one point, and the second law of thermodynamics say that the world is eventually coming to an end, that it seems like at some point the universe is going to run out of the materials that it needs, and it is going to end. If there's a beginning and an end, that means that we have constraints. Because the universe is not eternal, either something eternal had to make it, or the universe has to be eternal. That's the only two options we have. But all science tells us the universe is not eternal. So something outside of it that is eternal had to create it. And then here's the last argument, morality argument. This is the argument that helped me the most, that convinced me the most, because I am not good at science, so I don't understand science a lot, but the morality argument I understood. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, where you grew up, how you grew up. Every single person has an innate understanding of what is right and wrong, unless you are mentally incapable. Every person, unless you're mentally incapable, all sane people understand that rape and murder are wrong. People will still do it, but all people understand that that is wrong. We all have a conscience. Where does that come from? Where does that idea? When we argue that the way something is not the way it ought to be, which we can argue that at times, what are we appealing to? What is the ought to be that it should be? What are we appealing to? What law are we appealing to? But ultimately, God, who is the giver of the moral law, implanted us with our consciousness. C.S. Lewis, in his book Mere Christianity, which if you've never read Mere Christianity, I highly recommend you read that. It's an older book, but it's one of the best books when it comes to understanding faith. Mere Christianity, C.S. Lewis says this. He insightfully noted that when we have been sinned against, we as people often appeal to the universal laws that define right and wrong, assuming that there is an authority above the person who acted unjustly towards us. We also anticipate that someone else will agree with our understanding of right and wrong because we know that they also have a conscience, which explains why we appeal to it. If something wrongs you and you're trying to explain yourself to somebody, you appeal to the fact that they understand right and wrong as well. Why is there right and wrong? Why do we have any morals at all if this is all meaningless, if we were just created here by accident? If it's all natural selection, morals are actually hurting you. You're not going to succeed because of morals. So why do we have it at all? If there is no God, it's all natural selection, then morals make no sense. Without a God, you should survive by any means necessary. And if you need to kill your neighbor to do it, then you should do it because there is no God. But since we all have an innate of right and wrong, there has to be something that gave us that. That it's not a byproduct of evolution. That's just not a byproduct of natural selection. There has to be somebody and something that gave it to us. So to summarize all these arguments, which you can talk about each one of these arguments. We could do a whole sermon on each one of these arguments. So I highly recommend you go and look up more about all these arguments. To summarize them all, God is the highest thing we can comprehend that designed all, caused all, and is beyond all for the moral good of all. That's number one, the creation of God. But number two, another reason why I believe that there is a God, the impact of God. One of the best parts about my job as a pastor is seeing the impact that faith plays in people's lives. I've seen it over and over and over again of somebody understanding faith, somebody learning about God, someone being changed by their view of God, and it changing them. Through God, I have seen addicts be delivered. I've seen people crippled by guilt and shame find freedom. I've seen narcissistic, self-absorbed people begin to change and start thinking less about themselves. I've seen, to be simple, I've seen jerks be nice. I've seen it. I've seen people live differently because of their belief in God. And this isn't to say that you can only act this way if you believe in Christ. This isn't to say that an atheist is not allowed, cannot be nice or kind. Of course they can be. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is that I have seen story after story after story of God making an impact on people's lives, and in return, those same people making an impact in this world. When people fully surrender to the God of the universe, they seek in part to love God by making this world a better place. They seek to love God by sacrificing their desire and their needs for the betterment of other people. And I've seen too many people make an impact through their faith to believe that there is something, to get to the point where I cannot fathom that there isn't a God out there that has actually made a difference in their lives. In fact, research kind of tells us that when people have a belief of a higher power, they actually are better people. It's not just pastors talking. This research has told us. Let me give you some stats here. Pew Research found that 92% of Protestants, 91% of Catholics, 91% of Jews, and 89% of other people's faith, of other faiths, give charitably. The Barna Group says that the typical no-faith American donated $200 in 2006, which is more than 7 times less than the amount contributed by the prototypical active faith adult, which is $1,500. And that number, you subtract tithes and offerings. So that means people of faith, if you subtract what they give to a church through tithes and offering, statistically give 7 times more to charities and to generosity than people who would say they do not have any faith. That's just statistically. The Catholic Church spends $170 billion in charitable contributions and infrastructures, compared to Apple, that brings in $152 billion of revenue. So the church often gets a bad rap, and Christian people get a bad rap, and I understand why. But don't confuse this. The world is better because the church exists. It is. We can point to times when the church did not behave the way they should. We can point to it. But the world is better because the church exists. Watching people act selflessly and make an impact on this world shows me that there's actually a God who is changing people's lives. And all the research tells us that having an authentic religious faith and living with authentic religious community leads people to be more loving, more caring, more just, and more kind. It creates more contentment in people, more satisfaction in people, better mental health, more peace, and more joy. They did stats. They did research. The Barna Group did research on this too, that after COVID, how people's mental health was doing. And almost everyone reported their mental health was struggling, except for one group, the group that said, well, I have a religious community that I leaned on. Their mental health did not go down. That's what statistics are telling us. At the end of the day, when you allow God to make an impact in your life, simply put, it makes your life better, statistically. When you follow God, there is an impact in your life. And when I see that impact on your life, and the way I have seen people change when they didn't know God to now knowing God, when I've seen the impact God has made in my life, it leads me to believe that there is an actual God out there. If there isn't a God, there are too many people and too many actions that I just have to discredit. I can't do that. I've just seen too many people completely turn their lives around to discredit it. I've seen how God has changed me to just discredit his existence. And then number 3, the last one, the experience of God. We don't just believe in a creator that created it all. We do believe in that, but we don't just believe in that. We don't just believe in an intelligent designer. But the God that we believe in is a God that is personable. He is personal to each and every one of us. It is the God that speaks directly into your life. It is the God that speaks directly into whatever situation that you are going through. We can argue all day long about the theological reasons there should be a God. We can argue all day long about all the arguments that I gave, and we can debate those back and forth. We can do that. But I've learned if you don't have a personal experience with that God, the arguments don't really matter. It's good. There's an idea of a God, but I've never actually felt him or met him or feel like he actually cares about me. At the end of the day, I don't have faith in God because of the arguments. And I don't have faith in God because of the impact it's made on your life and what you've done with your faith. I believe in a God because of the experience that I have had with that God. Let me give you a little bit of my story and my testimony. I grew up in a Christian home. Those of you who come here, you know my parents. They're here all the time. Actually, my brother is also a pastor, so they alternate what churches they go to. That's they got to deal with. They say they like you guys better, though, trust me. But I grew up in a Christian home, so I did all the Christian stuff. I was a 90s kid at a Christian home, so For those of you that were 90s kids and Christian home, I listened to, you name it, DC Talk, Audio Adrenaline. Some of you that know that, some of you don't know. Don't look it up. They're not that great. But Carmen, those kind of people. And then I grew up in this home. And one thing that I noticed, and one of the reasons it impacted me so much, and this is another little side sermon for those of you that are parents in the room, but my parents didn't just take me to church and show church, they lived it. If you just take your kids to church but don't live it, you're kind of actually doing the opposite of what you're trying to do. You're going to make it worse because they're going to get 18 and be like, they were hypocrites. I'm not following that belief. No, but my parents brought me to church. I was in church culture. And then when I got home, they acted like Christians. And they acted like that God actually made an impact on their lives. And I remember that. So I listened to Christian music growing up. I was Christian, all I could think about. I got to high school. I started wanting to listen to good music. And I remember my parents were like, well, here's some bands you can listen to. And I used to listen to like hardcore bands that were happened to be Christian, like Living Sacrifice, Project 86, these kind of bands I had friends that their parents were like, you can't listen to that, they scream, that's too much. My parents were like, hey, if it's Christian, you listen to whatever you want. You can listen to death metal for Jesus, I don't care, just do it. So all my high school, I remember I was surrounded by Christian culture, but then when I was a junior or senior in high school, that's when I started to think about my faith. And I was like, why do I believe in all this stuff? I got to the conclusion that the only reason I believe is because my parents believed it. That if my parents were an atheist, I'd be atheist. If they were Jewish, I'd be Jewish. If they were Muslim, I'd be Muslim. It's like, that's kind of a silly reason to devote my entire life to this faith because my parents, what if they got it wrong? So I started from scratch, started thinking about, is there a God, is there not? And I got to some logical explanations, got to a point where I was like, hey, logically I believe in all this. But it didn't really make that much of an impact on me. And I would be in church world, and I got old enough where I was out of youth group, but I didn't want to leave youth group because that's where all my friends were and my community. So I became a youth sponsor, but I stuck around, and I had faith logically, but there's no experience. There's no like God spoke to me or anything like that. It's just I had faith. It made sense, but it wasn't really doing much for my life. Then we took these students on a trip. It was high school students that we took to Ocean City, the convention center. It was a conference called Impact, actually, is what it was called. And I was a youth sponsor at the time. I was too old to be a student, so I was in charge of people, which was a bad idea. I let those students do whatever they wanted. Like, you got away with that. Like, you could stay up as late as you want. I let them sneak out. I was a bad. Anyways, now I'm the pastor of a church, so it's a good idea. But I remember we're sitting there, and the Saturday night session's happening. This is when it's like the most impactful one, and I'm thinking about some things I'm going through, some of the struggles I have, some addictions that I have, what I'm looking at, and I'm not living the life. I have the logical thing, but I'm not living it at all, and I'm feeling guilty about it. And the pastor gives this altar call, and I remember just my heart's racing. I'm like, I need to go up there. I need to go up there. Like, I need to do something to show that I'm surrendering to God. But then I'm fighting like, but I'm a leader. I don't want to do it. And I'm just sitting there fighting with myself in my seat. Then the moment was over, and I realized, oh, it's done. I can't go up now. Like, it's too late. And so then we're playing this closing song, and all these students are standing, and I'm mad. I'm sitting there like this, cross-arm, like I'm pissed off. That's what I am. I'm sitting there like, why didn't I go up there? I'm mad at myself. Then I'm mad at God because I don't feel like I've ever had experience with him, that God's never spoken to me, that all this other stuff. I'm just sitting there all grumpy, mad. And then I didn't hear a voice. I just remembered a verse. Just a verse popped into my head. The verse was, be still and know that I am God. Just that verse just came to my mind. I don't know where it came from. So I'm sitting there like, all right, I'm just going to be still, know that I'm God. Be still, know I'm God. And I'm just trying to just calm down, not have too much guilt and shame. Just be still, know I'm God. Be still, know I'm God. It made me feel better, but that's kind of it. We go at night. We go back to our hotels. My students, I don't know where they went. They snuck out. And then we woke up the next day. They all survived. And we go to the conference the last day, and I know we're walking in. And while we're walking in, everyone is like, the greeters are there, and they're like, hey, we're going to walk in silently. Like, okay, we're going to walk in silently. So thousands of students walk in silently. We walk in, like, this is kind of odd, and like some kids are trying to make jokes, like, hey, come on. And we sit down, and there's one verse on the screen. What do you think that verse is? Be still and know that I am God. I don't know all the logical arguments. I know some of them. And we can argue all day long. You can't argue with that experience. You can't argue with it. Think about it. We have a God who created all of this, who made it possible for you to exist It shouldn't be possible. If it's all random, we shouldn't be here. It shouldn't be designed this way. Yet here we are, but it's not good enough for us. It's still not good enough. So that same God then sent his son to show us how to live and to rescue us from ourselves. That same God said, you know what? If I need to give him an experience, I will give him that as well. Some of you right now are struggling with doubt. And I get it. So what I want you to do is think back to that time that you experienced God. Think back to that time where you thought about God, where God revealed himself and showed himself in a real way. And think back onto that time. And you might be here and go, well, I don't have that. I'm here with my doubts, and I don't have that experience that you're talking about. I don't have that moment where God showed up. And I would say, if you're here with doubts, you don't have the experience about God, yet here I am on a Sunday morning talking about the thing you're struggling with and you not having that experience. It's a coincidence, I guess, right? You know how many times I preach and people come up to me like, man, it's like you knew what I was going through. It's like you knew exactly what I needed. And I always say, I had no clue. But if God can use a terrible sinner like me to get a message across to you, then he can do anything. So if you're here and you're struggling with doubt and you don't have that experience, you're having it now. The God of the universe is speaking to you now in whatever it is you are going through, saying that he is here, he is real, that he loves you, that he created you, that you have a purpose, that there is meaning in life, and that you can take part in that. So today as we close, and the worship team, you can come on up. While we play this closing song, I want you to have the experience that you want to have. Those that are not struggling with doubt, think back to that experience that you have had. And take this opportunity as we sing this closing song to worship that God who created you, who loves you, and it shows up. If you're here and you've never had that, and right now you feel something, maybe your heart's racing, maybe there's some things I said that's like, it's weird he said that because I've been actually thinking about that. Or it's weird that he talked about that because I was been going through that. If that's you, take this opportunity to thank him for being the God who is personable to whatever you are currently going through. The God that you can experience right now. Let's pray. Dear God, today we surrender this time, this opportunity that we have to the God that we know is real. God, we thank you that you are a God who continually proves yourself. You've proven yourself through history. You prove yourself through science. You prove yourself through the impact that has been made in this world. And you are the God who loves us so much that you're willing to prove yourself to each and every one of us. God, I pray for the people in this room that aren't sure, that have those doubts. I pray right now in your holy name that you help them to have no doubts that you are real, to have no doubts that you love them, to have no doubts that you are the God who has a plan for them. God, I pray that you give us this next opportunity, this next song, to worship and glorify you, the God who is in control, the God who is real, and the God who cares about what we are going through. God, I pray that you help us to leave here with a little more certainty about our faith in you. In your son's name, amen. Let's stand, let's sing this song together.
Take it all, my heart is for you. All my life, the one I run to. Here and now, your love is everything I need. You're all I need. You're all I need. You paid my price. You opened up my eyes. And now I see your grace for me. I'm finally letting go. Take it all, my heart is for you. All my life, the one I run to. Here and now, your love is everything I need. You're all I need. Take it all, my heart is for you. All my life, the one I run to. Here and now, your love is everything I need. You're all I need. My heart and my soul long for is you alone. My heart and my soul long for is you alone. My heart and my soul long for is you alone. My heart and my soul long for is you alone. Take it all, my heart is for you. All my life, the one I run to. Here and now, your love is everything I need. You're all I need. Take it all, my heart is for you. All my life, the one I run to. Here and now, your love is everything I need. You're all I need. You're all I Thank you so much for joining us today. If you are a first or second time guest, be sure to turn in your connection card in the back. We hope to see you next week. Have a